Okay, status. Booster.
Go flight.
GNC. Go. Fido. Go. Guide.
Go flight.
Cabin pressurization is underway.
As we prepare for ignition. Flight recorders are on. T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have liftoff.
Welcome back everyone to Infinity and Beyond. So I got a lot of requests to do a video for the Lightyear trailer. This is a Buzz Lightyear movie, which is a spin-off of the Toy Story movies, featuring Chris Evans as a younger version of Buzz Lightyear. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs for the Toy Story movies, obviously. There's also some Marvel Easter eggs in here too, because this is all Disney, and Easter eggs for a bunch of other movies as well. So we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. But if you're not sure what's going on here, why are they making a Buzz Lightyear spin-off movie? Is this meant to be a real version of Buzz Lightyear? How are they portraying this character compared to the version that we've seen in all the Toy Story movies? So the director of the movie actually clarified that the Lightyear movie is Pixar basically making the movie that the Buzz Lightyear toy was originally supposed to be based on. So in the first Toy Story movie, when you meet Buzz Lightyear for the first time, he's one of Andy's toys. And he's based on a movie that Andy went to see when he was a little kid. So there was a movie about a character called Buzz Lightyear. Andy went to see it, really loved the character, went and bought the toy for the character, and that's the version of Buzz Lightyear that we've been following in all the Toy Story movies. The director of the Lightyear movie and the Pixar people said, what if we just made that movie that Andy saw when he was a little kid? And doing it in the tone of a Star Wars kind of movie, like they literally referenced Star Wars when they talked about doing Lightyear. So there are some big Star Wars Easter eggs throughout this footage that I'll point out as we get to it. But the whole concept of the character is that within the universe that Toy Story takes place, the Buzz Lightyear character is meant to be from a near distant future where humanity has got to the point where they developed this level of technology and started to explore space and develop faster than light engines, which is a big plot point during the trailer. There's a lot of Christopher Nolan interstellar energy going on in here too with all this time dilation. They do include his catchphrase, to infinity and beyond, but because this is a Disney movie, it's Chris Evans, there's this funny Avengers Assemble joke that they work in, one of the many Marvel Easter eggs in here. So the whole idea is that in Avengers Endgame, they finally let Chris Evans, Captain America, say his catchphrase, Avengers Assemble. He said it so many times in the comics, but before Endgame, every time they got to a point in a movie where he might say it, they always pulled back on it. At the time, they said that they just thought it was too on the nose, too cheesy, and then when they finally got to Endgame, they're like, okay, we'll finally let him say it. So in the trailer, when he's about to say, to infinity and beyond, they just cut it short before he finishes saying it.
Avengers!
Assemble! To infinity.
And...
The music track that they use is David Bowie's Space Oddity, Major Tom to Ground Control, very apropos. The whole vibe of the trailer makes it seem like the Space Ranger's base is on Mars, both in the early part of the trailer when it seems like he's testing this ship out, and then later when he comes back. Like they're not on Earth, they're on a planet near Earth, which is why I say Mars, just because the landscape looks so red. And even though in the Toy Story universe, the Buzz Lightyear character is still meant to be a fictional character, like this is a movie that you have to picture a young version of Andy watching in a movie theater, because they want to portray these characters in much more realistic ways than the plastic-looking toys, because they are toys, the animation style they're using is way more photo-real. It actually looks pretty fantastic, and it's kind of surreal seeing Buzz Lightyear's hair. Like, we've only ever seen him with the skull cap and the helmet on. I saw some people in my feed having existential crisis just looking at Buzz Lightyear's hair, staring into those deep blue eyes. He still looks like the classic version of Buzz Lightyear, but you can see a little bit of Chris Evans' face in there too. More Marvel Easter eggs here and Easter eggs for the first Toy Story movie. The fuel that they're using to power their spaceship looks a little bit like the Tesseract-style crystal, giving off similar blue energy. But the actual crystal that they're using there is a direct reference to the first Toy Story movie. So in his very first scene, when they first introduced Buzz Lightyear, he comes in talking about repairing his turbo boosters and asks Woody if they still use fossil fuels or if they've discovered crystallic fusion.
I need to repair my turbo boosters. Do people still use fossil fuels, or have you discovered crystallic fusion?
Well, let's see. We got double A's.
The way they're playing this in the trailer, it seems like he's a test pilot and they've just discovered how to harness this crystal energy, and they're using him as a test pilot to test faster than light travel with this new type of spaceship. You also kind of get a Star Wars vibe from the trailer too, like some of the later scenes. I'll talk about those specific Easter eggs, but Zerg, for instance, one of the villains they introduced during Toy Story 2 as part of Buzz Lightyear's fictional backstory, literally did an Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader scene where he reveals that in the Toy Story universe, at least for the backstory of the toy that he's based on, he is Buzz Lightyear's father.
Surrender, Buzz Lightyear. I have won.
I'll never give in. You killed my father.
No, Buzz. I am your father.
That's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
I don't know if they're going to be that crazy or on the nose with it during this actual movie. They might change that plot point, but it seems like there's some shady stuff going on later in the trailer that I'll talk about that involves something behind this big Zerg twist. You look at Buzz Lightyear's dog tags, he's typo positive. That just means he's a universal donor. He can donate blood to anybody, even if they have a different blood type. So those are actually very valuable people in the field, especially on big missions like this. It's sort of connecting things to the WALL-E movies, because obviously this is a Pixar movie. WALL-E was a Pixar movie, and this is taking place in the future. WALL-E also takes place in a distant future. All these robots wheeling around here seem like the design language is similar to the design language of the WALL-E robot. It shouldn't be a surprise either. There are probably Easter eggs for a bunch of other Pixar movies in this as well. Pixar always includes a bunch of crossover Easter eggs for all their franchises. I don't think that there's any larger connection to the events of the WALL-E movie, though. The plot of that movie is this post-apocalyptic future. We found out that Earth started to get so polluted that they started something called Operation Cleanup because of the rising toxicity levels. Everyone evacuates to these giant starliners. They were going to colonize other planets, but then eventually abandoned those plans and stayed on the starliners to slowly turn into giant lazy bags of flesh. So I think in the universe of the Lightyear movie here, just the way they're playing Buzz Lightyear's fictional backstory, they're just a space team trying to explore the universe and develop faster than light travel and protect against alien threats. But a lot of you probably picked up on the big twist in the trailer with this whole two different timelines. Like there's before the mission and then there's after the mission, and there's a big time jump that happens because of the time dilation effect. There's also this funny meta thing going on with his name being Lightyear, but he's also a test pilot working on this faster-than-light project. So they call it hyperspeed during this movie, like they have a hyperspeed reference on the whiteboard, like he's going to be traveling faster than light to reach another part of the universe, but this is just a test. You see his flight path appear here. He's going to slingshot around the sun, gaining speed, then fly back through these special rings that help him to achieve that faster-than-light speed. And when I reference the time dilation effect, the big time jump that happens during this trailer, you see on the upper part of this whiteboard here, they explain a time differential because of a time dilation effect that occurs when you travel at speeds approaching the speed of light. When that happens, time starts to pass more slowly for you, so that's why they're saying many years will pass for the people here on the base, while it will only feel like a small amount of time has passed for Buzz Lightyear inside a spaceship. So when he comes back, talking about more Chris Evans, Marvel, Captain America, Avengers Easter eggs, he'll experience something similar to what Captain America experienced in the Marvel movies when he came out of the ice. He'll still be exactly the same age, everyone else will be way older. That's why it seems like this faster-than-light mission might just be a test. Like, he's a test pilot because of a couple details here. Notice how he doesn't have his trademark armored spacesuit when he's in this cockpit here early in the trailer. His helmet reads 01, like he's the first test pilot for this special new type of engine. Later in the trailer, when he does get the traditional spacesuit from the Toy Story movies, his partner here, the Hawthorne character, seems a little bit older than she did in the other footage, and her version of the suit now says 01, like she's now the new number one, maybe after he comes back after a number of years have gone by. There's also a really cool visual reference to the Star Wars movies and the jump to lightspeed in here too. They call it hyperspeed during this movie, but the visual effect of the stars stretching past him is right out of Star Wars. Then later in the trailer, talk about more Marvel, Captain America, Avengers Easter eggs. This footage all seems like it's him from after he returns years later, like years have gone by, even though it only seems like he's been gone for a little while. And he's having the same existential crisis Captain America had in the Avengers movie after he came out of the ice. Like he's back on the same planet that he started on, but he's looking out at the landscape at this much more advanced, much more developed city. Everything in the background just seems like it's evolved a lot since he's been gone. Then there's this little robot cat that wheels in called Sox. It's SOX. And a bunch of way more advanced robots rolling around everywhere all over the place later in the trailer. He seems genuinely terrified by it after it speaks to him too, like, talking cat, what? And when he makes this karate chop pose, it's because in the Toy Story movies, you remember, the action figure Buzz Lightyear has a karate chop function. Talking about more Star Wars references and Easter eggs later in the trailer, when he jumps to this swamp planet, his spaceship kind of resembles an X-Wing to begin with, but the swamp planet looks a little bit like Dagobah. Also, the Sox cat plugs its tail into Buzz Lightyear's ship to interface with the computer the same way that R2-D2 plugs himself into computers. Then we get our first big Zerg Easter eggs. We knew he was going to be in the movie somewhere. You can't do Buzz Lightyear without doing Zerg. Notice the giant robot that he sees on the swamp planet in the background here. It's kind of foggy, but you can see its head here. It's one of these robots that you see lined up in this giant hangar bay with a Z on their chest. Z for Zerg. You also see when the chamber opens here with the red light shining through, this is probably the big Zerg reveal, like Zerg will step out of this chamber. So this is where things start to get a little bit weird in this second timeline, like when he comes back after the time jump. So the Star Command soldiers break into this room, 27A. They also have the same type of lasers that Buzz Lightyear has on his spacesuit in the Toy Story movies. And it seems like Buzz Lightyear is actually running from them, like he discovers something shady about Star Command in the time jump has happened. That might be them playing into this whole notion of Zerg having this really weird relationship with Buzz Lightyear. Like they're playing Star Command at the beginning of the trailer as if they're the heroes. Buzz Lightyear believes that he's working for this really righteous group, doing these really good things. But then after he comes back after this big time jump, finds that something really shady has gone on during the time jump. You could also think of that as a very Hail Hydra kind of Marvel twist. Talking about more Marvel Easter eggs, Captain America the Winter Soldier. Star Command has been overrun with Hydra agents. Then they reveal the classic Space Ranger suit from the Toy Story films. There is a couple minor differences between the original version and this version. The emblem on the chest is just a little bit different. There's no giant red button on their arms to activate the laser weapons. Those might just be integrated to the gauntlets in these versions. But it's mostly meant to look exactly the same, just a little more practical, like this could exist in the future of our real world. Like the whole visual design of the movie is in service of making it feel like it could really exist, instead of being toy versions like the Toy Story movies. Like, give me Toy Story, but with ray tracing. Overall, it actually looks like a pretty decent film. Chris Evans said that he had a lot of fun working on it. He was really stoked up about it. But if you spotted any big Easter eggs in the trailer that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. I just did a brand new Hawkeye trailer video with a bunch of new footage and Daredevil Easter eggs. You can click here to watch that. And click here for my brand new Spider-Man No Way Home Sinister 6 preview breakdown with a bunch of new footage. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, to infinity and beyond.